We're live. Welcome to the show, everybody. All right. So, today we're going to be learning about 1031 exchanges. Has anybody heard of that before?
I have.
Yeah.
You have? Good.
What's that?
Oh, let me explain. It's called 1031 exchange because of how it's identified in the IRS tax code here, right? So the little definition we got here is under the 1031 section of the IRS code, whatever. It's essentially just when you exchange real property used for business or held as an investment solely for other business or investment property, same type or like kind. So essentially, if you have somebody selling their house and they're like, oh, we bought it in 2 years and it's not, we haven't held it long enough to get rid of capital gains, I'm just going to buy this other house with it. Can't do that. Can't be your primary residence. It has to be an investment property or a business, something like that was used to make money. And I'll kind of jump down here.
So on your primary, you're not going to get charged this on your primary residence if you sell it?
If you've lived there for longer than what?
2 years.
2 out of the 5 years?
Two out of 5.
That's right.
Yeah. So you don't get charged that capital gain for your primary. If you do,
Just checking the volume.
and if you so in your primary, you don't have to worry about it. But if it was like somebody bought like a duplex or one of your investment properties, anytime you're selling it, it's making money. You automatically are getting charged because it was an investment to make money. So the Uncle Sam puts out his hand. So essentially, the way that I heard it is, imagine it's actually like your real uncle. You have a cool uncle, right? And you just sold this awesome deal in real estate. And this guy goes, man, you owe us all this money, but heck, you do such a great job. If you go buy another investment property, don't worry about paying me just yet. As long as you go buy that. And you go, dang, thanks, Uncle Sam, that's awesome. He's like, you freaking killed it. Good job. And then you go, okay, cool. And you sell it, and he goes, bang, and shoots a gun. And you're like, what the frick was that? He goes, you got 45 days to get another one. And you're like, what? And he goes, yeah, and 180 days for it to be sold. And so then you start running around. So that is the parameters of it here. So I'll go back over that as well. But so the very first thing is understand that it has to be an investment property. You can't do your primary residence. It doesn't have to be multifamily. It doesn't even have to be a rental. It could be like, somebody has their business in it, like this or something. You can do that then. And what I mean by similar, it doesn't actually mean like, oh, I have an apartment complex, so I have to buy an apartment complex. You actually can buy, like if you sold a small apartment complex, you could buy an office building with that, or you could buy vacant land with that. It just has to be kind of in the same real asset category. Since the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, it has eliminated any personal property or intangible property like machinery, equipment, artwork, because before 2017, people were including that to get out of tax stuff as well. So keep that in mind. You can also use it in opportunity zones, which we can go into later. There's different types of capital 1031 exchanges that you can do. There's the delayed exchange, delayed simulated, it's all this different stuff, but essentially we'll go over the most common way that you can do it. It's just your normal 1031 exchange. You have to make sure you have a certain account set up. I've talked with Foundation Title, and they do this stuff as well. So if you have somebody who is like, hey, I'm doing this, whatever, and I'm sure we can talk to other title companies as well, but they'll know how to do that because the money has to be held in certain ways, and if you don't follow every rule exactly, then they're going to put their hand out. Money, give me. Right? So these are the 3 most important rules whenever you're doing 1031 exchange. Number 1, the replacement property needs to be the exact same value or greater. So you can't sell your $1 million apartment complex and then go buy a little baby office building for $500,000. If you do, it's called the boot, and they will tax you on the difference, right? The replacement property must be identified within 45 days. Excuse me. That should be calendar days. That's not business days. Mm-hmm. Now, you don't have 45 days. You don't have 45 days and then 180 days to close it. It's all within that same frame. So you have 45 days to find it. That's get it under contract, and that's the moment you sell. So you have your big apartment building. As soon as it's sold and closed, 45 days to get that under contract. 180 days to close it. That's still within that 45-day window, right? So remember that together. It's not 85 plus that, or 45 plus the 180. 45 days to get it under contract. So if you're working with somebody who is doing that, you need to have this conversation up front when they're thinking about listing it, and then when you're negotiating a contract, maybe have a 60-day close, try to work it out or something, so that you're constantly looking, so that clock is ticking. Because if you don't, you pay those taxes. And if you're dealing with an investor who has done this more than one time, you continually accrue the taxes, right? So we could be talking about millions of dollars at some points. So that way, that timeline is key.
Is there a limit on how many times you do it?
Not from what I've said here. So just remember those two things. So let's kind of look into how we're going to use it in the real world. So if we were to have say we have a multifamily property and its cost is $1 million, but the market value is $2 million. Just for the easy math, there's no mortgage, right? So the fees that can be paid on the exchange are also factored into that cost basis as well. Is that, hey, it's cost $1 million, and it's here. This is how it works. Every time you do something, all right, so the capital gains tax rate of the property owner at this point is 20%. So using that together, essentially at the end of it, all said and done, you're looking at $200,000 in taxes. If it's $1 million, you sell it for $2 million. The net profit you get, you're looking at $200,000. So for your investors that are like, well, I'll just sell it and then I'll just do it, you're handing Uncle Sam $200,000 if you do this, right? If you do the 1031 exchange, it's essentially an interest-free loan from the government. They're saying you don't have to pay that. Here you go. Just pay me next time type thing. And you can kind of rinse and repeat with this constantly. So as you run through that, you can use that money as a down payment. You can use that even if there is a mortgage on it as well, right? So when you put that down on it, if there is not, what are you talking about? Yeah, so if you have like a difference and you buy something that's not truly that amount, you're taxed on what is less than. So to get it completely taken care of, then you have to go equal or over within 45 days, close within 180 days. That's just the gambit of it all. If you're outside of that at all, Uncle Sam will
within 180 days of getting the contract, or 180 days
once it's
starting at that 45.
Yeah, once it's sold, you have 180 days for it to be gone. You have 45 days to have something under contract. So you could find it on day 2, but you still only have your full 180 days to get it done. It can get done earlier, it can't go later.
If you've done this a few times, do you have to pay on the taxes that's accumulated or just from that transaction? Taxes that's accumulated?
So it always carries over. So say that 200,000, we'll keep doing this million thing, right? So it's valued at $1 million, you sell it for $2 million. So that profit you're taxed at 200,000. That 200,000 on there, you go, man, this is great. You have it, you bought it, and you bought a new property, right? For we'll say $3 million. Then you go and you sell this one. Well, now you still have that 200,000 plus whatever this is. Let's say it's 300,000. So now I have $500,000 in taxes that I owe. Now I have to find that other place, and I find it. Uncle Sam goes, "All right, dude, you got it. You're good. You're good. You're good. You don't have to worry about that, right?" And so that's why it's very, very important to do a lot of planning in the front end, because you don't want to be stuck in a place to where you're like, "Oh, okay, sorry, we missed our window." So you have to set that up too, because if you're working with an investor, that pressure, and depending upon how many times they've done it, you have the pressure of, I mean, y'all have bought real estate deals, you've helped people buy real estate deals, you know that not every deal is great and that the best deals are hard to find. So when that time frame is on you, make sure that you are giving them as much time as possible, so you know when that clock starts, and that clock starts once it is sold. So even as you're prepping to put it on the market, we're starting to look, we're starting to get our ducks in a row. I'm saying it's almost a resale contingency with like, hey, we're gonna do this and this day closes, and make sure too, like it's put into an escrow account, like at Foundation. Those funds are held, and then they are applied to the next property. So once money touches your hand, Uncle Sam wants it. So you're getting it and reinvesting it. Now, why does the government want you to do that? Why is there a tax incentive for you to do that? What do you think? Why would the government give you a break on
with the hope that you'll end up paying more taxes from revenue from another investment property?
Possibly.
Or if you don't do what you're supposed to in that time frame, then you're gonna owe all of that. You're gonna accumulate it.
Possibly. The reason why they even give you the tax break and don't just say, no, you have to pay taxes, government likes you to provide housing, affordable housing for its people.
Mm.
Every time the government touches affordable housing, how does it normally go? Are those great places to live?
No.
So when there's private companies that are buying stuff and getting a good place to live, that you are doing the government's job at that point. The government is supposed to protect and house and make sure that their citizens have a nice place to be. You at that point are working hand in hand, becoming a business partner with the government and saying, yeah, I'm buying these houses, see, so don't tax me. That's why real estate is the #1 vehicle to get as many tax breaks as possible.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get that in the stock market, you don't get that in crypto. In real estate, due to depreciation, due to write-offs and everything, you're able to cut out most of your taxes to where these big multimillionaires don't pay anything in taxes because they own so much real estate. They have accountants and other tax code that they do not pay taxes because they have played the game correctly. So what you might be asking is, Matt, well, if I keep doing this, you can get to a place where I'm owing millions of dollars in taxes. What happens when I die?
Yeah.
Do they go to my children? Do they inherit my taxes? What do you think?
I would say no. I would say no.
No? Where does it go? Who's the burden?
I would think so.
Who owes these millions of dollars of taxes now, of tax evasion, legal tax evasion, if you will? Who is responsible for the bill? You just died though.
Your family, I would think. Your children.
Family?
But I hope they would punish you for that. I mean,
Right.
you're providing housing for them. Why punish you?
Exactly. They go, man, he died. They rip it up. The asset is what? It's given to your heirs.
Right.
The debt, the tax deferment, is not.
No.
So that is, the 1031 exchange is a huge vehicle that investors, very, very wealthy investors do to eliminate that tax, because I can still keep buying bigger and bigger deals, put this money into another one, into another one, into another one. That's why if you get up so high, like these big cities, it's almost impossible to get into these multifamily units, because these big, huge companies that have been 1031 exchanging owe millions. And say this apartment complex is overpriced. They're like, I owe $3 million if I don't buy this at a tax rate. How much do you want for it? We want $20 million. That's fine. It's worth 18. Cool. I'm coming out smelling like a rose anyway. Bam. And they buy that because there's too much tax tied up in there. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So the common guy that's like, well, it makes sense at 16 million. They're like, we don't care. Like, we'll buy it right at your asking price. It's a little overpriced. Cool. We'll buy it because we have tons of money behind us that we will owe. Because if you jack up on that, they hold out their hand. Hey, sorry, you didn't do it in time. So that's why that window is very, very. That's why when they ask about it, it's 45 days to get it under contract, identify it. 180 days, still from point A, to have it closed. So there can't be a delay with title. There can't be anything like that. No, the government doesn't care. It has to be done in that window. So that's the three things. It has to be equal value or higher, 45 days to have it under contract or identified, 180 days to have it closed, all in the same timeline. So keep it in there. You can pass it. You can keep doing this, keep doing this, keep doing this, defer these taxes, defer these taxes, defer these taxes. Die, it goes to your spouse. She still has those taxes. Or he still has those taxes. They die, it goes to heirs. And that tax is gone, it's forgiven. Uncle Sam goes, well, you did good with the tax thing. You provide some housing. And your children get it. And they don't have to worry about that.
But they would have to pay yearly taxes on it.
Yeah, you still got to pay Uncle Sam, but all of the 1031 exchange deferred capital gains taxes are forgiven. So that is why there's so many investors that call and they want to make sure their agent knows what a 1031 exchange is.
Right.
And if you kind of fumble around and go, yeah, well, we can do that. And you can also know, and we've had bull crappers that have been like, we're getting ready to 1031 exchange our primary residence and we're going to use it to buy this. And we're like, whoa, your primary residence? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, oh, well, have you spoken with a title company or an attorney that's used to like helping out with this? Well, no, not yet. Okay, because the last time I checked, you can't do it on a primary residence. I'm like, oh no, I didn't like my duplex. Oh, okay, great. Have you sold it yet? No. Okay, well this house here, and they're trying to buy primary residences with it, and you already know, you can't do that. Doesn't matter if you have 15 apartment complexes and you want to buy. I'm going to use that to buy. They just watched one thing of Bigger Pockets and they think they sound like they're a big investor, and they're like, I'm 1031 exchanging. And if you have the savvy, you have the conversation with an investor of saying, yeah, we're going to do this, and you know this. You have this conversation. They know, okay, great. This is somebody who has enough knowledge about the subject. I can use them to buy this because this is not your typical. I'm buying a primary house. It's going to be so cute. This is somebody this is your hardcore investors. If you're in that niche, this is that conversation that is coming up often. So you're able to just say, yeah, I know it's this way, I know it's that way. And you're able to kind of cut out some of the gray areas. Because some people are like, is it 30 days or 45? Can I do my principal residence? No, you can't. Can I do this? Can I do that? Can I sell my apartment complex and buy a big thing of land with it? Yep. You know, can I sell my office building and buy a multifamily? Yep. So keep that in mind as you work with them, and hopefully it's just helpful knowledge all around. And I think it's super helpful too to know that this is forgiven when you die. Like that is huge. If you rinse and repeat this and build up millions of dollars of debt, you're not paying taxes on your real estate proceeds ever. And then another fun fact. Say you have 3 investment properties, you paid them all off, and you know the market value of them is $300,000 each. Most refis will allow you to take, some are 20-80, you can pull 80% of the equity out. If you pull out the equity of a HELOC or a refinance, are you taxed on that money? What do you think?
If you do what?
If you do a cash out refinance?
Yeah, you'd have to be.
So like if like you had 3 multifamily units or 3 investment properties, and you didn't have a mortgage on them, we'll say, and you want to do it, you call Twanald up or you call Tim Arrow, I want to do a cash out refinance on these bad boys, and you pull out 80% of the equity, put it in your bank account.
No, but all you shouldn't have to pay anything if you have a mortgage on it.
You think you're taxed?
Yeah, I thought they would just give you that money. But then
No,
at the
you're
same
not.
time,
You're not taxed on it.
yeah, because you've already paid it off, you're saying, because there's no mortgage.
Well, if you
Well, you're
refinance it
refinancing,
and you
you're
pull
creating
that money
Right,
in it,
right.
government likes you to have loans. So you're given that value. So that's why too, when people are like, I'm a house flipper, I don't get house flippers at all. Because you have these great opportunities to have these houses that would rent for killer amounts. You have nothing in it. You could refinance it,
Yep.
pull that money out that you're not taxed on, because flippers are taxed for how they
Right.
buy stuff.
Right.
Because they're buying it really as like, I gotta double check on single families like that, because if you're buying it and then selling it, because they're buying a house and then even if they're renting it, I think the 1031 exchange it might be multifamily.
Even
I
if
have
you
to
are,
check.
I mean, if it's not your primary residence, you have to file with the IRS.
Yeah. And so they're flipping and they're turning it and they're paying taxes on it every time. That's why I don't get flipping.
Mm-hmm.
But if you cash out refinance, you're not taxed on that money. So a lot of the way that the top 1% of the world's wealth, what they're really good at is where to put their money and how to not pay taxes.
Yeah.
Those are the biggest things. Because old school, middle class stuff, you're taught, I'm going to save, I'm going to save, I'm going to save, and I'm going to put it in my bank account, I'm going to look at the number, and I'm going to go, that looks good, yeah. When you have that number, you get to feel good about it. Inflation is eating you alive. And people right now are really, really feeling it. When we started sending out stimulus money, I was like, all right, well, about to get expensive.
I started doing the numbers on this. Imagine, say they spent 300 million people that they sent those stimulus checks to. If those checks were $1, that's 300 million. Start adding zeros to that each time, and they just continue to do that.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So we've done that, and then through the Trump's administration and Biden administration, we have put 40% of all printed bills have been added in those two countries. 40%.
It's insane.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, you have your money in your bank account, and you're like, I feel good about this. This is great. Well, then government comes and then throws out a bunch more ones. What you're holding on to is less valuable, right?
Right.
That's how something has value, is there's not too much of it out there in circulation. If there's an infinite amount of water, it's not that valuable. But if it is harvested and bottled, now there's a cost to it. So all that to say, if you have your money in your bank account, cool, understand that there is a cost for everything. There's a cost of holding that money there. If it is not in a real asset that is growing, you're losing money. So the only reason why you should have that cash, sure, have your David Ramsey's reserve fund, because you never know. But then also understand that real estate, even if you have equity in the house, you can tap into it with a HELOC. You're not paying taxes on that. And you have access to that. And a lot of times we forget that that is where most people's wealth is built, is in real estate. Your equity. It's your equity, it's all the things that you own. It's your assets minus your liabilities is your net worth. And a lot of people don't know, I bought my house for $200,000, it's worth $400,000 now. That's cool. No, you have $200,000 right there that you can tap into. You'll pay for it, whether you do a HELOC, it's a line of credit that you just pay on that, or you do a cash out refinance, make your mortgage go up a little bit. Right now in this market, not the best move. HELOCs are the better move. Understanding how taxes work, how to maintain your money is going to be the best bet for you. As we are advisors, we're not financial advisors, don't get sued about it, but to have a good knowledge to help somebody as they're wanting to buy an investment, you can say, everybody who you have helped buy in the last 2 years is freaking like high-fiving you right now. You know, like 2 years ago, they might have been a little worried, I hope I don't overpay, and they're outside with spinners because they have seen all of the neighborhood go up. Real estate in this area, I believe, will continue to go up. As we've seen all these out-of-state folks, I've compared it to putting a log in the middle of a kiddie pool. You have the east and west coast is really deep, right? And then like we're here in the middle of the United States, it's kind of shallow. It's kind of our value upon homes and things like that. And then you pull the log out, which is what we're seeing now, right? And then you see that it is kind of leveling out. So the value is just going to spread thin. I think your big markets in Los Angeles, places in New York, it's going to level out, and we're all going to be around the same median house price soon. Because as jobs become more available nationally, there's people that work for companies in Nashville that live here, in New York that live here. So we're going to continue to see that as that happens, these undiscovered markets like we have, like these mountain views everywhere else in the U.S., there's a cost for that. So keep all that in mind. That's all your tax benefits, stuff like that, a little fun free tax information too about inflation and things like that as well. So 1031 exchanges, understand them well, understand how to advise your investors as you are helping them, especially a lot of front end work. This is not something where your investor should go back, oh, by the way, I got 30 days to find something. Let's go. That's why you'll see some people will buy something out like Oklahoma or something crazy. Is that you have to exhaust the market. So that requires a lot of pre-planning, a lot of trying to set something up. So keep that in mind. Hope that was helpful. If there's any questions about it or something like that, just shoot me a text or whatever. We'll do from that.
Thank you, Matt.